What's going on, team? Proof here, and welcome to my deck guide series for Overdress Set 1, Genesis of the 5 Greats. And instead of presenting a deck list and talking about it and then going into replays like I normally do, I'm going to do things a little bit differently this time. So I'm going to start with talking about the ride deck and then going over the overall goal of what it's accomplishing. And then after that, I'm going to talk about 3 key cards that are either important for the deck's function or cards that you want to look for in your hand post mulligan. After that, I'm going to go into the general overview of the deck. And then since this is more of a general overview, I want you to keep in mind that the gameplay of the deck can change depending on the matchups. And then I'm going to give a couple pros and cons. And finally, we'll finish things up with a sample deck to tie everything together. So I hope you stick around and I hope you enjoy. The deck I have for you today is the Overdress deck. So let's go ahead and hop into it. And for the ride deck, the overall goal of the ride deck is to, at the very least, give you one Overdress unit that you can have ready to go with your Nirvana on turn 3. Because when Ryu rides on top of Reno, you get a free Trick Star. And then when Nirvana rides on top of Ryu, you get the Virena piece to it. Since Ryu riding on top of Reno nets you a Trick Star, that can allow you to jumpstart your offense early because there are 2 grade 2 Virenas that are available, and both of which are very good. And if you have the free Trick Star, all you need to do is find one of the 2 Virena in your mulligan, and then you have a very nice early aggression going on for you. And that kind of puts us into our key cards, and in my opinion, the 3 key cards I wanted to feature are the 3 Virenas that are currently available in Overdress, with Virena Arcs, Virena Valiente, and base Virena from the start deck. And Virena Arcs is important because just drawing cards in Vanguard is incredibly powerful given the way the game works. By being able to draw 2 cards early, it allows you to find more aggression, allows you to find more Persona rides, other Virenas, other Valientes, etc. And then Valiente combos well with Arcs because after Arcs does its thing and on your next turn, it doesn't have that utility anymore. So you can very easily make it a Valiente target and give it plus 10,000 power. And base Virena, in my opinion, is important because it allows you to have a 20k body on turn 2. And from what I've been noticing in Overdress, just the ability to have a 20k beater is hugely important. And the stock in Virena has improved in my eyes because of that. And it allows you to just make sure you have nice consistent power throughout the game across all of your units. And as for the overall gameplay, you really want to utilize all of your Overdress units to beat down your opponent as effectively as possible. And you really achieve that through your Overdress units getting powered up through their own skills and by Nirvana power them up as well. And you really want to pressure your opponent with this high power and then put them in really tough guard situations. So for example, you're attacking with Nirvana and your opponent, they want to guard your Nirvana, but they also want to make sure they have enough guard to make sure that they don't get steamrolled by Valiente. And that really puts you in the driver's seat as the Overdress player by having all this pressure and just make sure that your opponent can't guard everything effectively and at some point something's going to get through, and you really thrive on those situations. So for the pros of the deck, it can be really strong out the gate with Arcs drawing 2 cards, with base Virena being a 20k beater. And then, as I talked about previously, you can get really strong pressure with Nirvana's power or Valiente. Those 2 work in conjunction with each other, or with Nirvana's powering up all of your Overdress units. And then a couple of the cons I wanted to touch on is it can struggle in longer games if your opponent starts to pick off your Overdress units and you don't find replacements for them. And it gets pretty resource intensive because a lot of your skills cost counterblast and there's no current form of countercharge available in Dragon Empire. So you really need to make sure that you manage your counterblast effectively to get to where you want to go. So it's kind of like choosing between, do you want to go for value with Arcs versus going for power with Nirvana, or keeping your counterblast open because you want to make sure that Valiente remains a threat. Those are the situations you need to navigate as the Overdress player to get the most out of your deck. So that'll do it for the overview. Let's go ahead and get to the sample deck. And a note I want to make on the ride deck before I get into the rest of the deck is that you can play Trickstar as your starter instead of Egg, because when Nirvana rides onto Ryu, you can Soul Blast out the Trickstar and as you get your Virena. and then you can discard for Nirvana skill and call out the Trick Star. This gives you better odds of having double Overdress units on your front row as you're getting ready to attack with Nirvana to get maximum value with the plus 10k skill that Nirvana gives. As for the rest of the main deck, we got 3 Nirvana and we have 4 Valiente for the grade 3s to maximize our odds of drawing into them. And the same is also true for Arcs and Base Virina, because they're the key cards of the deck, so you want to make sure we find them as readily as possible. As for the rest of the grade 1s, we got 4 Perfect Guards, got 4 Velocihazards, which are the 10k boosters, because the 10k boost really helps you form perfect numbers along the way. For example, with Arcs, he becomes 15k after you use his skill, and then if you put Velocihazard behind it, it makes 25k, which is the perfect number into your opponent's 10k Vanguards. And then also forms perfect numbers with Valiente, because you hit intervals of 28k or 33k or more, which really lines up well into your opponent's grade 3 Vanguards. And to wrap up the grade 1s, we got 3 Tensha Steed, which allows you to search out your Nirvana and also gives you another weapon to pressure your opponent with, because they may not want it to hit and allow you to find your Persona Ride. The downside to Tensha Steed is that it's another counterblast in your deck when you already have heavy counterblast usage going on, so you may not want to use it. And if you choose not to use it, you can definitely switch it out and opt for the grade 2 Blitz order, which is Burn Bright Pure Prayers, because it allows you to give some additional defense to your deck. As for the triggers, we have 7 crit, 4 draw, 1 drag beta, and 4 heal, because this gives you a nice balance of offense and defense, and the draws really help you put some pieces together while you're continuing to put the pressure on your opponent. So that'll do it for the deck guide on Overdress. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Peace, be easy.
Listen.